Ahoy there, my children of the Force.
Oh, I thought you were going to say forest.
The Forest?
I know, that's what I was
Danny
like,
girl.
what are you talking about?
Children of the Forest. Well, I guess if we were doing Game of Thrones. But
Yeah, I
no,
know.
Children of the Forest, they're
Yeah, I know. I don't know. I was just going Game of Thrones.
Children
of the Forest.
Force. Welcome to Star Wars Transmissions. Your boy Dan and my homegirl Danny to break down episode 1 and 2 of season 2 of The Bad Batch. This was a pretty fun premiere. I was hoping that we were going to get more than one episode, and sure enough, we did. And I mentioned this to you earlier. Once I started watching episode 1, I was way more excited than I thought I was going to be.
I know. For whatever reason, this was totally off my radar. I think you said something last night to me? You're like, oh, Bad Batch is starting tomorrow. I was like, wait, what?
I think it was last night.
Oh my God. I'm like all kinds of upside down, turny, whirny. I don't even know.
Well, I think I'm still in I was talking to my coworker about this today. I'm still in bum life mode from the holidays.
If only.
I'm feeling a little fried from work, but that's all right because we get to decompress and talk Star Wars and talk about the Bad Batch and share our thoughts on these two fun episodes.
Yeah, they were fun. It was good time. Good time.
Before we continue, this is your friendly spoiler warning. Your friendly neighborhood spoiler warning. If you have not watched episodes 1 and 2 of season 2 of The Bad Batch, get those booty cheeks out of here. Go watch those episodes, then listen to your homeboy and your homegirl break down and discuss these two episodes because there's some really cool stuff that I'm excited to discuss from these episodes.
Yeah, it was a good time. And I've said that like 5 times already. It was fun.
It was fun. Yeah, it was fun. So before I want to specifically talk about the main themes that I got from watching these two episodes, but I do want to do a quick recap of these episodes before we dive into our major themes that I pulled from these episodes.
I just want to say I'm glad you picked this lovely little screenshot. The first opening shot, I was like, are we on Pandora? Am I watching the wrong thing right now?
I am so happy. And we did not talk about that, right?
No, we did not.
I am so happy that you said that because I love this opening scene because oh my God, this reminds me of Avatar. The water, the plant life. I mean, these crabs could totally be from Pandora. I would love if we find out that this planet's name is Pandora.
That would be hilarious. But yeah, I was like, am I watching I honestly asked myself wait, did I click on the right thing?
I agree. Yo, Gaminator, welcome to the chat. Glad you're joining us. Pandora is from Avatar, which Danny Girl and I saw Avatar 2. Is it the Way of the Water? Way of the Water?
Way of the Water.
Way of the Water.
Last week,
and oh my God, I loved it. But yes, I absolutely thought the same thing when I was watching this episode for the first time was, oh my God, this is reminding me of Avatar, and I would love so much if we find out this planet's name is Pandora. That to me would be like, oh my God, this is incredible.
it would just be a fun little nod, little Easter egg. I mean, Disney owns everything anyway, so why not?
Corporate synergy, baby. So the season opens with Clone Force 99, our boys Hunter, Tech, Echo, Wrecker, and Omega on. We don't know the name of this planet yet, so it's an unknown planet at this time. And they're doing some sort of mission. They wind up copping whatever it is that they're copping. They get attacked by these crab creatures. And one of the things, too, that I also really liked that immediately caught my eye was they've upgraded their armor, their skins.
Well, good. I'm glad that I also noticed this, but I didn't say anything to you. I was just like, think they did, but I'm not
Oh,
gonna. I'm not gonna say
100%.
anything.
100%, because I did go back and look. I was like, wait a
good.
second, weren't they darker? Their armor, wasn't their armor darker
like
last season?
Pieces, bits, and they've upgraded bits and pieces.
Much more colorful, which
With that Sid money.
That's true. But I mean, I think that that's a choice, right? You're in terms of creating this season. I have to imagine that that was the reason that that was done, was to help emphasize that these clones are becoming even more individualized and separated from the clones that are still within the Empire, right? Because going back to last season, as I mentioned, I 100% looked. I went and watched the season finale from last season. Their armor is all very, very dark. Tex looks fairly the same. His armor was a little bit lighter, but all of their armor was very, very dark and was kind of almost uniform amongst them. And now you look at them, they've got pieces of it that are a little bit more lighter now. They all have some different colors. That's got to be to help signify that these clones are becoming more individual beings, even within their own group, but especially when compared to the clones that are still operating within the Empire.
I mean, we've seen these accent colors in Clone Wars too. I'm wondering if like they're finding bits and pieces. Like we've seen like Commander Cody has the orange. Correct?
Yeah, yellow. Commander Cody's got yellow. Yep. Rex had the blue pauldron. I'm trying to think if we saw any that had orange. I can't recall off the top of my head. But
we've seen people in orange or with.
Yeah, I mean the Coruscant Guard had like red in there, so yeah, there was definitely different colors. But even within that, right?
Yeah.
They would usually wear the same. Like let's say the Wolfpack. Plo Koon's clone battalion, they were typically wearing gray and white armor, and they would all wear that same coloration throughout their armor. So you are right that we have seen clones wear different colors within their armor, but I do think again that the choice to make their armor different colors and more brighter and colorful from last season, at least my interpretation of it is we want to signify that these guys are becoming more individualized amongst their own group, but also compared to the rest of the clones that are still around.
My thought is also they're just picking up what they're finding. So yes, they're also
scavenging.
They're just being resourceful.
That is true.
They're going in lots of jobs. I'm sure they've come across some other.
That's an excellent point.
Clones and maybe some other armor. So they're just using what is useful to them.
I like that idea. I really like that a lot because you know what that makes me think of? That makes me think of like playing a video game and you're looting. You're on a job or you're on a mission. You start looting stuff and you're picking up new bits of armor, new bits of clothes. So I think that makes sense because we do hear Sid talk about how they're living hand to mouth.
Yeah, so there's a resourceful group of individuals.
I like that. So yours more practical, which I would say in terms of our everyday lives, you're the more practical of the two of us, where I'm more like head in the cloud. So I feel like that makes perfect sense. But yeah, I really like that idea that as they're going on their missions, because this episode 1 takes place several months. We don't know how many months, but it takes place several months after the end of season 1, after the Empire has destroyed Tipoca City on Kamino. So it would make sense that they're continuing to do missions during this time and they're gathering new armor and supplies. Brian, my man, welcome to the chat. Glad you're joining us. Gut Hook, glad you're joining us. Of course, that makes me think of Muay Thai, so I like that. I like that name. All right, so let's do a little recap of these two episodes before we start doing a little bit of a deeper dive into these two episodes. So as we already mentioned, we're on Clone Force 99 is on what I'm going to call Pandora right now, even though we have no clue what this planet's name is. It just really reminded me of Pandora from Avatar. And they're on some mission. We see here that Omega, who's definitely looking different as well, she's studying Imperial ships. And Omega really impressed me in these 2 episodes, which you and I kind of talked about earlier, and I do want to talk about that more. But we see her here doing some research on Imperial ships, which is going to come in handy later on in the episode. Once they finish up their mission on Pandora, whatever that planet's name is, they return to Ord Mantell, and I was so freaking pumped to see that our boy AZ is alive. I was so excited when I saw he is A-OK. He's on Ord Mantell. I love that he greets them and he's introducing himself to them again. It is me, AZ. Just so happy to see that AZ made it out of Kamino and that he is safe. And I could sleep soundly at night knowing that he is safe and sound.
Gotta save those droids, baby.
And we learn that Sid has a mission for them, which she acquired from a pirate friend of hers, which we'll talk a little bit about later on, to go and basically pull off a heist for Count Dooku's war chest. And you and I laughed about how many times we hear the term war chest thrown around these 2 episodes.
My gosh, it reminded me, this is awful, but I watched a quick clip the other day of the sheriff who was reporting on Jeremy Renner and his accident, and he said like the name, and I can't remember what it was, the Snowcat. It has like an official name. He said it so many times in the interview. It was just like the Snowcat, and I can't remember what it was called, but it just reminded me, the war chest. Oh,
they say it so many times. But yeah, so
we get it.
And the Bad Batch are hesitant, or I should say Hunter is hesitant to take up this mission because, yeah, it's big reward, but there's a lot at stake. There's big risks involved with doing this because there's an Imperial presence on the planet, which we'll come to find out a little bit more about. Once the crew are all in agreement that they're going to do this mission, they hop over to Sereno, where essentially they start formulating their game plan. Hunter is going to create a diversion for them. He's going to set off and, if need be, create a diversion for the rest of Clone Force 99 so that they can get into some of these containers that are already packed full of Count Dooku's war chest, take as much as they can, and then get out of there as quickly as possible. Well, of course, things go awry, as we are to expect. Wrecker winds up getting... He just kind of like pieces out. He's got like the crate of goods, dips out of the container. He winds up with Hunter. Echo, Tech, and Omega are separated, and they're still within the container of goods from Count Dooku's palace on Sereno, which then brings us to the end of the episode where they're trying to escape as the cargo vessel is taking off, and our homegirl Omega, using that knowledge of hers, realizes, hey, if we can detach this container from the cargo ship, its thrusters will kick in and we'll hopefully be safe. We then go to episode 2, and actually, let me go back here for a second because I know.
I feel like you missed a whole bunch. Like, the cargo ship was leaving; they were stuck on the cargo. They needed to try to figure out a way to escape, so they went to the container ship because all of the...
As I said, you're the practical, I'm head in the clouds.
All the escape pods were ejected by the Empire. I'm like, we know that there's people on board, so let's keep moving here.
Yes. And in the meantime, our boy Tech almost gets nemicked.
I know, but that was after they were in the container that had thrusters on it, which Omega told them. Also,
No. Danielle has heard me do a New Zealand / Australian accent.
Oh God,
a ridiculous amount today. So what were you just going to say?
I don't remember, and I feel like I paid half as much attention to this episode as you did.
I feel like both of our brains are fried because of work and the holidays.
It's okay. But so anyway, they were saved about the thrusters that they were able to not. Yes. They couldn't use the escape pods, so they got in the container. The container had thrusters. So then they were crash landing, and then
that's when Tech almost got nemicked.
Yes, when it was crash landing. I think they landed the first time, then it fell off a cliff, And then they barely escaped, and we see Echo and Tech with a broken femur.
I thought Tech was going to die this episode.
Oh,
I really did. And not because of him getting a container or whatever it was, crushing his leg. I thought at the end of episode 2, he was donezo.
spoilers much, bro.
I already gave the spoiler warning. So as the episode moves along, I told you I want to do a quick recap.
I know. Okay, I'm sorry.
Quick recap.
You're almost too quick.
So as the episode strolls along, because Wrecker and Hunter have been separated from the rest of Clone Force 99, they then are basically going through the ruins of the city beneath Count Dooku's planet, because Hunter and Wrecker are having to evade the Empire. And I love that when we see the ruins and what the Empire has done post Count Dooku.
Yeah.
Which is very sad, but we also get this really fun moment of Wrecker turning into a damn tank, which was so great, and them fighting their way to be able to get to the Marauder to then help pick up our homeboy and homeboys and homegirl. As they're fighting their way to the Marauder, Omega still wants to get some of the gush from the war chest. She winds up separating from Tech and Echo, goes to the container that they had fallen from, or fallen out of the sky in, and eventually the Empire catches up with them. But then Hunter and Wrecker are able to save the day in the Marauder with our homeboy Romar, who they met along the way, their friend that they met along the way.
Their friend that they met along the way, yes, but they didn't treat him as a friend at first.
Not initially, no. Not at all. So now that we've got my crazy recap underway.
Cliff notes.
I told you I wanted to do a quick...
I love it.
Quick little recap of these 2 episodes so that we could talk about some of the larger themes that I took away from this episode. And let's go back to, this is pretty early on in episode 1 when the crew basically convinces Hunter to take this job. And Sid is telling Hunter a few things. To me, this was like the moment that makes these 2 episodes, for 2 reasons. Well, for a few reasons, actually. So Sid is explaining to them, hey, you guys are living, again, hand to mouth. If you take this job, you are going to be able to live free. You're going to be able to go off to wherever you want to go to, and you're not going to have to work anymore. You'll basically be able to live free, which we know is not going to happen because there wouldn't be a show. But she also is talking to him about, hey, bro, wake up. Are you looking at what's happening across the galaxy?
Right, because they were originally not going to take this.
Yes.
Job at first. They were just like, yeah, it's too dangerous. And then Sid kind of had some pieces of knowledge that she dropped on them.
Basically bonking him on the head like, yo, get with it, man. Like, yeah, I have kind of a good thing going here and I can give you guys work, but that could end very, very quickly. And you guys basically need to be planning ahead.
Which I'm assuming then they haven't been, or hopefully they've been at least a little bit.
It seems like at this point, they're just kind of going through the motions, just doing their thing almost aimlessly, just kind of picking up work when they can from Sid here and there without any real purpose or plan.
Shame on them.
I guess it kind of makes sense though, right? What else that's kind of all they've known, right? It's just taking orders from their superior officers during the days of the Republic, and now that the Republic is dissolved, they basically go AWOL from their post, and Sid has kind of become their de facto superior. So it would make sense that they are going to be following
her lead,
right? And not necessarily thinking ahead. The other thing too is Clone Force 99 is yes, they look older, but in terms of actual age, they're only like 10, 12, maybe 15 max years old. So like technically they're kids. So there's it's the Clone Wars anthology book that came out. It's the very first episode of the Clone Wars where Yoda is with a handful of clones, I should say. Yoda tells them in that story that he could basically their presence in the Force is like children.
Oh yeah, very good point.
So yeah, so they're still they're youngsters basically, right? So I think it would make sense then that that's pretty much what they'd be doing during this time, is just following Sid's lead, following her orders basically. And this really made me think of Andor.
You tell.
Because of when Andor, after the heist scene, he's got all this money, and I can't remember the name of the planet, that resort planet that he's on. He's at that point, he can live without a care in the world. He's got however much credits he's got. He's living the life on this resort world, but then he gets scooped up by the Empire, literally of no fault of his own. He's just in the wrong place at the wrong time, and he winds up in a freaking prison, basically being used as labor.
So anything can happen at any point in time, and they just don't realize that yet.
Yes. So I really like that Sid was talking about that, because it made me think of Andor during this moment. And then I enjoyed the conversation between Echo and Hunter as they're talking about this, because Echo is basically saying to him, hey, we should be doing more. We've been kind of he doesn't say we've been going around aimlessly, but we should be doing more. The Empire is ravaging the galaxy, and we should be helping out. We should be doing our part because we know we can. And Hunter, thinking of Omega, doesn't necessarily want to do that. So I'm imagining that they're probably going to get pulled more into the fray of fighting the Empire. I don't know if it's going to be by choice or because of external factors, or if they eventually decide that, hey, we want to start fighting the Empire more intently or with more purpose.
Yeah, maybe it'll be part of the journey, is seeing like something, whatever happens, like there's going to be more of a catalyst to get them fighting the Empire. I mean, there's going to be something at some point, I feel like. Yeah.
And then once they are on Sereno, we see again the ruins of the city left behind, because again, going back to what Sid said, which is why I think her scene was such a good scene and important to remember, that once the Empire comes to a planet, they are going to pretty much do whatever they want to get what they want. If that means they have to destroy an entire city and leave it in ruins, so be it. It doesn't matter.
Which, how many times have we seen that before?
Mm-hmm.
Jeddah, Aldhani, Cassian's original planet. What? Oh my God.
Crap. I'm drawing a blank on the planet right now. Kamino. Right. I mean, there's just
not Fest.
Yes, it's not Fest. I'm drawing a blank on the name right now. But yeah, those are all great examples that the Empire, when they want something, when they feel like the planet could be a resource in opposition to the Empire, they will leave it in ruins, because they are the be all end all. It also is sad too, because here's our homeboy Count Dooku's war chest. And I mentioned this to you before. My only real critique, and it's a minor one of these two episodes, is probably my own stupid disappointment. I was hoping, once we found out that they were going to go to Count Dooku's palace, and then they're going to be on Sereno, I was hoping that we would see some sort of Sith artifact or something that ties back to the Sith in Count Dooku's time as Sidious's apprentice, which bummed me out that we didn't. But then in retrospect, I'm like, oh, they've pretty much taken anything of value from that palace. It's in those, what they say, there was something like 50 containers.
I think it was just 50 containers from the one ship.
Oh, you might be right. Yes, you're right.
I mean, they're taking out everything. You'd think something like a Sith artifact, like that's going to be even more high priority than what we see here.
Absolutely. Which it makes, I wonder why the Empire waited months to go and take what they could at Dooku's palace. Don't know.
I don't know either. I mean, maybe they took the important things and this is just, or what they deemed as unimportant, which is still a crap ton of money.
Yeah.
Items and things.
But yeah, you look at what they have plundered. I don't want to say plunder because I don't know if that's the right word. When Dooku was the one plundering planets and plundering resources from his own planet, they're just taking what's been left behind from Dooku. And that to me was something that hit pretty heavily for me during these 2 episodes, is thinking about Tales of the Jedi and Count Dooku, and how we learn in Tales of the Jedi that Dooku was good. He had good intentions. He was not this evil individual right out of the gate. He was a Jedi that wanted to do good and wanted to help the galaxy, because he kept seeing all of these corrupt politicians, this corruption across the galaxy, that pushed him to becoming Sidious's apprentice. And then look at what Dooku became. He became a corrupt individual who was basically doing the same things that the politicians that we saw in the Tales of the Jedi episodes. He wound up doing the same things that those politicians were doing.
That he originally was totally against, which is just, what a terrible, vicious cycle.
I didn't know this. Right as we were eating dinner right before our stream, we were watching Star Wars Explained, and the dude Alex mentioned that these episodes were supposed to premiere back in September, before Tales of the Jedi and before Andor. And I'm so glad that they didn't. I'm so glad that we've gotten them after especially Tales of the Jedi, because again, it makes me really feel like, hey, what we've seen in Tales of the Jedi just shows you how much of a tragic character, to some extent,
Dooku.
flawed character Dooku is. He meant well, but power corrupts, man. Money corrupts.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think honestly, like in this order, it was a little bit easier to see that connection than I feel like going the opposite way. Like if we had seen this back in September, I don't know if, and then saw the Dooku episodes afterwards.
Yes.
I don't know if it would have as much of an impact even.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. To me, I think these episodes are more impactful knowing what Dooku saw when he was a Jedi and how it pushed him to become Sidious's apprentice, because again, it just shows you that tragic fall of his to becoming a corrupt individual that we saw during the Clone Wars and during his time as Sidious's apprentice. Nomad, welcome to the chat. Glad you're joining us. I agree. I think these 2 episodes, especially episode 1 felt really, really fun. I think these are a great start to season 2. So I'm happy to see where the rest of this season goes from here. One other thing too that I was hoping that maybe we would get, and we did get to see part of them, but I was hoping that, or excuse me, we did get to see a little bit of, I don't know if it's like his throne room. I don't know if you would call his like lair where his chair was his throne room. I was hoping we would get to see a little bit more inside the actual palace itself.
Gotcha. I mean, it made sense for what happened in this episode that we didn't see it. But yeah, that could have been cool.
Yeah, I was hoping we would get more shots within the I mean, we do see Echo. No, they're in the cargo, not the palace. So that was my only other gripe, was I was hoping we would get to go around the palace a little bit more, which I feel like that's a
little dangerous.
That's true. Yeah, very true, because again, they are supposed to be on a stealth mission. So that's a good point. Now, in continuing on with our discussion with Dooku, I really enjoyed the scenes that we get with Tech and Romar, Echo, Omega. So Romar is the gentleman on the right here. He's the Serenian that winds up helping, whether it's by, I wouldn't necessarily say by force, but he definitely was not, he didn't initially offer to help, and Clone Force 99 was basically like, yeah, you're going to help us.
I thought it was kind of interesting, like the parallels between what they're trying to not be and, you know, kind of like how the Empire just overpowers people, and they kind of used Romar to their own benefit.
I hadn't thought about that because, yeah, they kind of strong arm him into giving them shelter.
Oh, they didn't strong arm him. They were like, you're taking us to your house. Like, we're going with you. So there was no talking about it. I mean, Omega had her bow totally on him until he said something, was like, can you put that down, please? It's hard to think with you with a bow and arrow in my face, or whatever he said. So yeah, they definitely, they were like, you're gonna take us to your house. We're gonna hang out there for a little bit because there's no other shelter around. So I just thought it was kind of interesting.
That's a very good point. I hadn't thought about that. I mean, I obviously knew that they're forcing Romar to give them shelter, but I hadn't thought about it like, hey, they're kind of acting how the Imperials would.
I mean, that's kind of how they acted during the Clone Wars too. Like, how many episodes of the Clone Wars, it's like, yeah, they're fighting for the Republic. They're the quote unquote good guys, but they're just kind of doing exactly what the Separatists are doing so they can get what they want or need.
Well, and you bring up a great point that makes me think about in the later in the episode, specifically at this point in episode 2, Romar is telling Tech that he's got this archive, this data core of Serenian history, and Tech is basically saying like, oh, separatist, and it's like, no, Serenian. We are a people. There is a history here. There is a culture here. Before we were ever separatists, we were a planet that had a culture and a history. Mm-hmm. And the light bulb goes off in Tech's head like, oh, yeah, that's right. I was trained to believe that you were just separatists, not actual people.
Yeah, which I thought was a really, really poignant.
And earlier in the episode, to go back to what I was mentioning about Dooku, Romar, when they get to his house, talks about how the goods and the valuables that Dooku had plundered weren't just from other worlds occupied by the Separatists or other worlds that were a part of the Separatist alliance. He did that to his own people, which would make a lot of sense. And again, just shows you how sad of a character Dooku wound up being, that not only was he subjugating planets across the galaxy, but even his own world he was subjugating and plundering the resources from his own planet and his own people. Which is
literally an episode of Tales of the Jedi that we watched when he was trying to save those people who, I can't remember, their senator was doing.
Was it their governor, maybe?
Whoever it was.
Or maybe it was their senator, yeah.
The two were just totally exploiting his own people for his own gain.
Yeah. The irony
Dooku.
Of Dooku's character, yeah. But again, just how much power and money can corrupt someone. And again, that to me was like, this thinking of Tales of the Jedi when I watched these episodes made me enjoy them that much more. Because I think, you know, when I was going into these 2 episodes to start, I view them differently than I do Andor in terms of my viewing experience. Andor, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have to be sitting here and really thinking about what's going on. With Star Wars animation, I feel like, okay, I could let my hair down a little bit. I don't have to pay probably as close of attention to what's going on. I know there's going to be some moments that are probably going to be like, oh, snap, this is dope, or wow, this is great lore dumps, or whatever. But I feel like I could take a little bit of a breather when I'm watching Star Wars animation. But these episodes, like I said, knowing what we know from Tales of the Jedi, to me, made me really enjoy these 2 episodes, and made me kind of think things a little bit more so than I thought I would
Mm-hmm.
when starting out these two episodes, which I really liked.
Yeah, I mean, with Star Wars animation, you're usually going to get a little bit more levity than definitely Andor. But yeah, I mean, it was definitely a little bit more lighthearted, and you didn't have to pay quite as close attention.
Yeah. So David Cohen, welcome to the chat. He says the clones are real close to revolting against the Empire. Even Cody is starting to wonder why he's fighting for the Empire anymore, but Crosshair isn't under the control chip, but is pro-Empire. I wonder if this was something that was talked about a bunch in season 1, is there going to be a clone revolt? Because that was a thing from Legends, that's essentially why there were no clones during the original trilogy, because the Empire destroyed Kamino. There was a clone revolt. That obviously did not happen in canon. We learned that the Empire destroys Kamino because they're just done with producing clones. So we could still see a clone revolt, but outside of Clone Force 99 and what was it Hauser? Captain Hauser or Commander Hauser from I can't remember our homeboy's name from last season. I
think it was Hauser. Yeah,
I think it was Hauser. Like, we've seen him not be down with the Empire. Our boy Wilco was he was ride or die for the Empire, literally die for the Empire in this episode. So I don't know. I think last season I would have said that, yeah, we may see a clone revolt, but now I'm not so sure that that's something we're going to see in this series.
I feel like, though, he was ride or die with asterisk with honor, or like, because he wasn't going to change what his report was. So I mean, at least, even though he was working for the Empire, at least he had a sliver of honor.
Yeah, you could say he's not going to lie, but yeah, he was definitely pro-imp. He was an imp through and through at that point. That's for sure. So outside of Clone Force 99 and Hauser, we really haven't seen it yet. We don't know if we haven't seen Commander Cody yet. We know he's going to appear this season, but we don't know where his story is going to go. I imagine we're going to see him maybe not join up with Clone Force 99. I think it's more likely that he's going to join up with Rex, because Rex is going to reappear as well in this season.
Yay, Rex.
I'm excited for Rex. Rex is my homeboy.
Great. Always great.
So, as I was mentioning to you earlier, this was the moment where I was like, yo, I think Tech's getting murked. So it's a little bit before this moment, but this was like the best screenshot I could get because it was super dark. But I thought Tech was going to die, because when we see him basically trying to save Omega, so basically Omega, Tech, and Echo, they're hanging out at Romar's pad. Omega's supposed to be watching Romar. Then Romar is hanging with Tech as they're working on this data core. And Omega is upset about not being able to walk away with at least something from Dooku's war chest. So she goes out on her own to go to the container that they escaped from in hopes of getting something for them to take away with. Echo winds up finding out, Echo, and he goes after her. But while they're still in the container, the Empire winds up finding them. And then Tech winds up coming to help them out. But during this scene, we see Tech is under serious fire behind this tree. And at one point, a clone and Tech wind up getting in this scrum. And during that moment, there is no music. And I was thinking to myself, oh my God, the score just went quiet. All you hear is the sound of what's happening. Tech is going to die. Tech's going to get murked. And I was very thankful that he did not. I should have known, hey, it's the first or the second episode of the Bad Batch. They're not going to kill Tech, but I legitimately thought he was going to die.
I'm glad they didn't. Yeah, that would be that'd be a big thing if they did, I feel like.
Yes, which, I mean, it would have been like, holy crap. That would have been a big...
We still got a holy crap moment, though.
We did, yes. Yes, with our boy Hauser, which we're going to talk about. So outside
It was
of
Wilco, wasn't it?
or Wilco, yes, excuse me. Yes, what I say, Hauser?
You did.
Got Hauser on the brain. Doogie Hauser.
Wilco. Okay, moving on.
Outside of Dooku, outside of some connections to Andor, at least some things that I connected the dots to Andor, anything else that caught your attention or caught your eye from these 2 episodes?
No, did you take a screenshot of the like final scene?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I thought these 2 episodes were really fun. I think it was really great to get back in with Clone Force 99 and Omega and AZ, and I'm really excited to see, and Sid's great.
Do you remember the voice actor for Sid? I can't remember her name.
I don't.
Was she Matilda, or am I mistaken?
I don't know, but I'll go look after
We'll
this.
have to look it up.
I hope we see Fee again.
We will.
I mean, I kind of have a gut feeling about that. Fee kind of sounded like Wanda Sykes to me. A little bit.
Yeah. Here, let's skip ahead here for a second, because I did want to talk. I did want to talk about Omega. Obviously, we're going to talk about our boy Wilco. But yes, I had no clue Wanda Sykes was going to be in this episode.
Oh, so it was her.
Oh, 100%.
Okay.
You know how I am with actress and actors. I knew the moment she started speaking, like, oh my God, that's Wanda Sykes. And I love Wanda Sykes because she was in Curb Your Enthusiasm, and she's great in Curb Your Enthusiasm. So when I heard her speak, I was like, oh my God, that's Wanda Sykes. Hell yes.
Okay. She also has a very distinctive voice.
She does. Yes.
So, I mean, I'm glad that I was right on that one.
Yes. So as I mentioned earlier, so this character on the left, her name is Fee. She's the one that got Clone Force 99. That's who Clone Force 99 was doing their initial mission for right at the start of episode 1. And then when they come back to Ord Mantell, Fee has given information to Sid about Dooku's palace. So they weren't doing the mission for Fee, but if they had walked away with at least some kind of a score, Fee would have gotten a little sliver off the top of that cut.
Mm-hmm.
I'm interested to see how she's going to play into the rest of this season. You don't get an actress like Wanda Sykes to appear for 30 seconds, a minute max.
No, she's coming back.
She's coming back,
I feel
100%.
like even if it wasn't Wanda Sykes, I feel like that was just such, like, what was the point of putting that character in there then if she's not coming back?
Absolutely. And I'm curious to see how she's going to factor into this season. Could she be a tie-in to, I don't know, I saw a bunch of people talking about, is she going to be a connection for the Bad Batch with Commander Cody, which I don't think I see that. That to me doesn't make sense. But it's going to be interesting to see how she ties into this story as they move forward. Could she be someone that the Bad Batch start to branch out and start taking work from? You know, talking about maybe Sid gets shut down.
I was going to say, I feel like something would have to happen to Sid for them to go with Fee. Just because I feel like Sid would be very resentful I feel like she would hold a grudge if Clone Force just kind of jumped from Sid to Fee and just only worked for her.
Yeah, you might be right. But she's definitely going to be factoring into the season more so. But it'll be interesting to see how Maz, I'm going to call you Maz. Welcome to the chat. Glad you're joining us, my friend. All right, let's go back here for a second. I mentioned this earlier. It was very... I told this to you at one point. Omega's a young girl, and like she's a badass, man. Like she's studying Imperial ships. She knows her stuff. She's fighting crabs and saving Wrecker and Hunter and Tech from these crabs that are hunting them down. She saves the day at the end of the episode. She's an absolute badass, but then you remember she is also only a child.
I'm also really glad that even if it's a small thing, they've thrown in like when she was learning how to do the bow and arrow.
Yep.
And like just a couple mentions of her studying a little bit. Like I'm gonna say thank goodness, so we don't have to hear that Mary Sue baloney I'm going to put it really nicely
Yeah.
for this character.
That's an excellent point. But for a kid, man, she's a badass. And again, I like that we see that those reminders that she is a child, and she was a child that lived exclusively on Kamino and had no understanding of the galaxy around her until the Bad Batch came around and took her off of Kamino. And there are still a lot of things that she has no idea about, like the fact that a kaleidoscope she's like mesmerized by, thinking that it's jewels.
Well, I also love that she just doesn't have any concept of like just for fun. Like it was literally like she's looking at this kaleidoscope and she's like, how do I get these things? How do I get these jewels? How is this going to be useful? And he's like, it's literally just for fun. It's just a beautiful thing that you can look at for enjoyment.
I don't think that dawned on me.
Ooh, yeah,
when I watched that scene. And again, that would make sense, right? Because before she was with the Bad Batch, the Kaminoans gave her some things to like keep her occupied.
Her doll.
Oh yes, she had her doll. Or wait, she had a doll that she was given, because she had the doll that Wrecker gave her.
Yeah, I'm sorry, my bad.
Which you bet, where is it? Did I take a screenshot of it? I thought I took a screenshot of her doll. I must have forgotten to do that, but I was so happy to see her doll, that she still had her doll that Wrecker gave her. I don't know. I'm going to assume the Kaminoans at least gave her something to. But
I mean, she was
bring her some joy
in with the Kaminoans, and then a whole bunch of clone brothers that wouldn't treat her like, no, I wouldn't treat her the best, or maybe might ignore her.
Yeah,
but
I think
she never had any other kids to hang around with or play with, or
so the idea of fun and joy. And going back to what we talked about earlier, the Bad Batch has clearly just been continuing to do missions. So all she knows is work and missions with them. So the concept of fun being completely foreign and alien to her. I don't know why that I didn't realize that when I watched the episode, but it totally didn't dawn on me. But it makes a lot of sense. I was more just like, oh my God, she's this cute little girl, has no idea what a toy is. But yeah, you're right. She has no concept of what doing things for fun is, because why would she?
Right.
It makes a lot of sense. And this scene I thought was really cool. This was like one of the last scenes in episode 2, because earlier in episode 1, Echo is telling Hunter like, hey, we get this score. We're going to have a lot of money. We need to use it to help fight the Empire. The Empire is growing stronger. We need to be doing more. And Hunter is thinking about Omega and saying, you know, I want to do this for Omega. And I can't remember exactly what Echo says to Hunter, but basically saying like, we're in this boat because of Omega. At the end of the episode, Echo is telling Hunter, Omega, because she heard Echo say this to Hunter, that, hey, I'm glad you came into our lives and you changed our lives. Without you, we would be just like Crosshair. We would be just like those clones that are a part of the Empire now. We would be serving the Empire without second thought had you not come around.
Right, because she was feeling incredibly guilty that this was all of her fault, which is why she was so obsessed with the war chest and making sure that she got the bounty and the loot and everything. So she had something to show and value to bring to her dad's.
Yes, which I was really happy to see this moment, because I kept thinking to myself, why is she so obsessed with this damn this war chest?
But it makes total sense.
Makes total sense. She's trying to show that she's worthy of being a part of their crew. She wants to make this job worth it so they don't come out of it empty-handed. So it makes a lot of sense. And I just really loved this moment. I felt it was a very heartwarming moment. So I really liked it. And again, I really liked that it was like, oh yeah, that's why she's obsessed with trying to bring back something from this mission so that it's not botched.
Yep. Prove her worth.
Bull Run, welcome to the chat, my man. Glad you're joining us. So David Cohen says, Omega is a Gen 1 clone. She even seen the famous clone ARC Trooper Captain Rex's Gen 1 clone because ARC Troopers were regular clones. Yeah, she met Rex last season. I would think that she would have met Rex even before then. I don't remember. I haven't rewatched season 1 since it appeared. I don't recall Omega mentioning meeting Rex prior to that. But I think it would make sense that she might have run into Rex prior to, because Rex would have been on Kamino training as a trooper before he gets shipped off to fight in the Clone Wars. So yeah, I would imagine she probably met Rex or has some knowledge of Rex, especially those troopers, those clones that wound up becoming ARC troopers who were like the cream of the crop. So that makes sense.
Agreed. Yeah, she's been around for a bit.
That'd be cool. I would like to see something when Omega's her younger days living on Kamino, kind of seeing some of the clones up and coming. That'd be cool. Even is it like a comic? I would like that.
It would actually be, I feel like, kind of cool for like a kid's comic.
Right? I would even if it was a kid's comic, I would read that. I think that would be fun. All right. So now we got to get into some of the like dark stuff. Just a couple more things.
60 seconds of some seriously dark stuff.
Because holy crap, for the most part, this was like very much family entertainment. And then, bro, it gets dark quick. And I'm so glad our boy Kevin Kiner is back doing the score because he's so freaking good. His music is spectacular. And the score during the final moments of the episode is so eerie, is so ominous and dark, and it just is so fitting of the episode. And Kevin Kiner is just really, he is masterful at doing scores for Star Wars. I wonder, I gotta look him up. He's gotta have done other things outside of Star Wars. His scores are spectacular. But anyway, after Clone Force 99 has left Sereno, we see our homeboy Admiral Rampart come, and just as you'd mentioned earlier, I was going to call him Hauser again, Wilco, even though he's an imp through and through, he's got some sliver of honor, because Rampart is basically telling him, or excuse me, Wilco is telling Rampart, Clone Force 99 survived Kamino. I saw them. I had a visual of them as we were basically fighting them in the ruins of this city. And Rampart tells him, that cannot be in your official report because Tarkin is going to find out, and basically I will be screwed, because the thought is that Clone Force 99 died on Kamino in Tapoka City.
I love that Rampart was literally like, we're not doing this because I don't want to get screwed.
Yes. Which is so like dark side, typical of this, the Empire. How many times have we seen this now?
Oh yeah.
Where if the Empire and its agents just worked together, they would probably would have lasted even longer than 2 decades or 2 decades plus that they controlled the galaxy. But there's so much. There's infighting within the Empire. There's people trying to undermine one another. There's people like this guy trying to hide stuff from other Imperials because it's going to negatively impact his career or bring heat down on him. It felt to me like, yes, this is such what the Empire is about. And I love that we're seeing this again, because we've seen it in Obi-Wan. We saw it in Andor. We're seeing it now in the Bad Batch. So I love that we get to see that. And again, just Kevin Kiner's score here was like so good.
It really was.
Kevin Kiner, if I know you're not listening, but just in case you are, please make like an ambient album, because I would 100% listen to an ambient album produced by Kevin Kiner. Be all about it.
You know if he has like on Spotify or anything?
He might.
Just like from the Clone Wars?
I have never thought to look him up. After this stream, I'm going to have to look him up.
You know, you'd listen to that last piece from
oh my god, 100%.
Clone Wars like over and over again with
100%. Or yeah, like Ahsoka.
I mean, like this. I'm thinking of specifically of Ahsoka in the graveyard.
Yes, absolutely. Although that might make me like, oh no, that damn scene in that music. But yeah, and like you said, when we were talking about this, I'm like, man, like It's family friendly for like 99% of the episode, and then Admiral Rampart blasts
Oh my God.
Wilco, and I completely forgot. We see Wilco flying over the ledge.
That's what I mean.
I was like, Jesus Christ, that's right.
It was literally like 30 to 60 seconds. No, I'm not doing this because
Blasts his ass over a cliff.
Yep. And then the camera pulls back and there's Wilco
Jesus
just
Christ, bro. This is supposed to be family-friendly TV.
flapping in the wind.
Damn. Admiral Rampart coming in hot. But this is why I went back and watched season 1 of the Clone Wars. I realized this means Crosshair did not rat on Clone Force 99. He did not divulge that Clone Force 99 survived. So remember, at the end
Ooh,
of season 1,
good job, Daniel.
Kamino has just been destroyed, right? Admiral Rampart thinks he's killed the Bad Batch. They are able to escape with the help of Crosshair. Crosshair knows that they're alive. He lets them leave Kamino. He does not spill the beans that they've survived.
So we still have hope for Crosshair.
Still have hope for Crosshair. It's got to be like a year ago now that I released an episode, a video where I was like, "Will Crosshair rejoin the Bad Batch?" 100%. I think at some point he's going to rejoin the Bad Batch. They're still his brothers. And that to me, like, is just the nail in the coffin that, yeah, he didn't rat his boys out. He didn't snitch on them.
That's awesome because if he did snitch on him, you know he'd be done too.
He would be in trouble. Which, if I'm playing devil's advocate, that could be the reason why he doesn't say anything. Saving his own skin.
That's true, but I also feel, I mean, if he had gone like right after this scene had taken place and done it, I don't think it would have maybe like, oh, let's go shoot you now, like Rampart just did to Wilco. It would still be upsetting, but
Yeah.
I think too much time has gone by. They've totally been buying into the, okay, Clone Force 99 is dead, and we can't deal with them coming back.
Yes.
Cool.
Gives us hope for Crosshair, man. I'm happy about that because I would love to see Crosshair rejoin the Bad Batch. He's my favorite. He was my favorite of the group when we were introduced to them in the Clone Wars. What you're laughing?
I'm laughing. It's the Clone Force's Roy Kent.
Is what?
He's like the Roy Kent.
Which is why I love him.
I know.
But,
That's why you have a type.
I do. I like curmudgeons. I like characters that are curmudgeons. The main reason though why I liked Crosshair was because he's a sniper. And at the time when the Bad Batch appeared in the Clone Wars, I was like, Battlefront 2 was my jam, and I was playing Battlefront 2 nightly, and my thing was always playing as a sniper in Battlefront 2.
Yes, that makes sense.
But I also really like too, like you said, you do bring up a point. I got a type of character that I like.
There's nothing wrong with that.
I also like that he had a toothpick.
Oh my God. Always.
There's a lot I like about Crosshair, all right? He's
old school fidget spinner.
There's a lot I like about Crosshair, so I'm hoping this is me just saying I hope my boy rejoins the squad.
I gotcha. Oh my gosh. Crosshair has a toothpick, you have a tech deck.
Bull Run mentions I'm excited for this season a lot more than before. I mentioned this earlier. I was definitely excited going into watching these episodes, but like once episode 1 started, it really hit me like, wow, I am really freaking excited for these episodes. And then once we see Hunter, Wrecker, Tech running through the water of whatever planet that is, I was like, I'm so pumped for this right now. I'm like super, super excited. This is so much fun. I'm so glad that we have the Bad Batch back. And again, I love Andor. Andor was spectacular, but Andor is a lot to process.
I gotcha.
Right? Whereas with Star Wars animation, we talked about this a little bit earlier. It'd take a little bit of I could lounge a little bit more when watching Star Wars animation. And I like that we're returning to that where I could just kind of like have a little fun.
mean, they're two totally different shows, but yeah, I'm excited to be back to not back to, because I mean, we both absolutely freaking loved Andor. But like, it's so fun to get new fun Star Wars. I also just hope the feeling of being excited for new Star Wars never fades. Like, I always feel like, oh, there's,
For me, that will never happen.
I know, but I was just thinking, like, when it started, I was like, ooh, this planet's beautiful. Oh, it looks like Pandora. Oh man, we're getting new Star Wars. How blessed be.
Yes. That was me when we started episode 1. Like, hell yes. Oh my God, this is super, super exciting. I'm thinking that after I'd mentioned this last night in my Q&A stream, I think what's going to happen is once the finale of this season airs, we might get visions. I don't know if that's the case. It hasn't been announced, but that would be dope.
It'd be cool.
I think we're going to be going from like Star Wars show to Star Wars show. I think that's Disney Plus is going to be there. Like Lucasfilm's MO moving forward is basically we're going to have like a little breather, maybe a few weeks to a month, and then there's going to be a new Star Wars show.
So not that we would get tired, but like, gotta savor it too. Also, I was just thinking, why do I not have an Omega Funko Pop?
Dude, I thought about, so I was thinking about this yesterday. How do I not have, I did have on my Christmas list some Clone Force 99 toys.
Yeah, your Christmas list, it was like 200.
No one got me a single one of them.
100 toys long, 100 links long.
Well, a bro's got to have toys, brah.
I know. We're going to give a quick shout out to Ruthie, who literally went through every single link. Ruthie is my mom.
So
she went through every single link on his Christmas list, priced them all out, and then decided what to get him. It's literally no joke. It's at least 50 links.
My poor mother-in-law. So I have a Google Doc that there's a method to my madness. I have the same Google Doc. So every year at Christmas, Danny girl and I and my in-laws, her family, we do Christmas together and we all get each other gifts. So right after Thanksgiving, hey, where's your Christmas list, everyone? So I have gotten hip to, I'm just going to keep a running Christmas list. I'm going to keep a Google Doc. And this way, if there's something on my Christmas list that I didn't get this year, hey, maybe there's a good chance of getting it next year, which kills me because I've had a Panopticon shirt on my Christmas list for like 5-6 years running now. Not a single Panopticon shirt or a Bad Batch toy. Unbelievable.
I'm making
a Celino and Barnes
to divorce your mother-in-law.
Get the divorce papers going. Your Honor, she hasn't gotten me a Panopticon shirt. What the hell?
But I did get you a face cam, so you know.
Yes.
Winner, chicken dinner still. Get out of here.
But yes, there is a method to my madness. But I was thinking, I got to get some damn Clone Force 99 toys. I got to get some Bad Batch toys.
We need to get a new bookshelf first.
Oh, we will. We will. Don't you worry. We're gonna get another bookshelf to house our. What's crazy is our book collection was even bigger. So we got a bookshelf in our office that has a bunch of our books. I've got our toys, some lightsaber hilts of mine, just a bunch of Star Wars stuff on it. And what's crazy is before we moved into our house, the apartment we lived in had bookshelves built into the walls. So we had a ton of bookshelf space.
We literally had probably, the bookshelf we have now, it was at least 3 times
I was going to say, our book collection was probably 3 times the size it is now. We had to slim it down once we moved into our house. But we've decided all right, the book collection is going to keep growing. The toy collection is going to keep growing. We're just going to have to have a lot of bookshelves in our house.
No, maybe that'll be the reason in the future while we move. We need another room. Just, oh my God, why didn't I think of this before? We just need a library. We need an office and we need a library.
Bro, that would be dope.
Okay. Future plans.
Future plans.
Need a library in my house.
I love that you have a lot of books, my man. Makes me happy. When we were moving and offloading books, I was so bummed.
It was so hard.
It was very, very disappointing.
I also am definitely the kind of person who's like, I know I bought this, and I know a lot of them that we did get rid of, like, were just once maybe we hadn't read I know a bunch of them we had gotten at like a thrift store.
Yeah.
Or used bookstore. And it's just like, I wanted to read this. I haven't read this. It's been on my bookshelf for over a decade. But that doesn't mean I won't read it in the next decade. I still want to keep it forever and ever.
Even still, just some of the books that we had too, the art on them, the book covers, I should say, were great. Yeah, just having having a book collection is dope. And now too, it's another reason to buy toys, which your mom is to blame for toys. Going back to our Christmas list, I did not have toys before my mother-in-law started buying them as stocking stuffers for me. And then once she got me one, it was like, well, I can't just have one toy. And that's how it started.
I know. I remember the first couple Christmases we were together. It was just like, can you please put some like things on your Christmas list, like so you can open up presents at Christmas? And now it's just totally like snowballed.
Oh man. So
on that note,
now that we've gotten
off.
talking about Christmas lists and books in our house.
It was a fun tangential.
That was fun.
Sorry, guys.
Speaking of living spaces, all right, one other thing I want to talk about. I was very excited to go back to Dooku's palace, even though that totally looks like a schlong now that I'm looking at it. Like they really designed that
1,000%.
palace to look like a wiener. But I was very happy to return to his palace, and that's one of my few gripes in this episode. I wish you could have spent a little more time within his palace, seeing Dooku's palace, and maybe seeing some Sith artifacts or some things in there that we could relate back to the Sith or to Sidious. But I was very excited that we got to return to his palace, and I don't know if you would call this his throne room, because I guess I don't know if it is technically his throne room, whatever it was. Very excited. Made me think of the moment I saw this. The first thing I thought about was Asajj Ventress and the Night Sisters attacking Dooku from is it season 4? I think it's season, or maybe it's season 3. I can't remember. The Clone Wars, where they're trying to kill Grievous. So yeah, this was dope. Returning here, I'm curious if someone caught some things that I might have missed. I had to brighten this up a bunch, but this is a shot from when they first go into one of the containers. You could see right over here these, like, I don't, would they be called monoliths? I don't know what they're called, but basically they are from Dooku's, I believe, his like courtyard, where we see him training Savage Opress. And he's force lightning Savage Opress because he's trying to get Savage Opress to use the force to lift these guys right here. And then as Savage is being struck by force lightning, he's able to lift these, I don't know what you would call them, the stones. But as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh my God, that's from the Clone Wars. It's from Savage Opress episodes.
I'm so impressed that you made that connection. Let me just tell you, just quickly, you were saying Savage Opress. I could not picture what they looked like in my brain. I finally got there. I got it. But I'm thinking Savage Opress, Savage Ventress. I know it, or Asajj Ventress. Then for some reason I'm picturing Aura Singh. I'm like, I know that's not her. She's a bounty hunter. Why am I like? And then finally it clicked. I'm like, oh my God, why did it take like 4 different steps to get to who it actually was? There's so many names that are so similar. I
thought you were going to say the Johnny Depp Savage commercial. So Danny Girl and I are New York Rangers fans. We watch Rangers games a bunch, and MSG, they show the same goddamn commercials over and over and over again. And one of the commercials that they show is this cologne commercial with Johnny Depp, his nerd ass, for this cologne called Savage. And it cracks me up every time because I always say, oh, Savage Opress. I thought that's where you were going with it.
No, I unfortunately did not.
Totally unrelated to the Bad Batch. But yeah, those colognes, that was the only, like... the only thing that I can catch. I don't know. Like, I tried to see if I could figure out what that is. I have no clue what that is. I have no clue what some of these things are.
Like pottery.
Yeah. This almost looks like some of the pottery that we've seen in Zepho in Fallen Order, but I don't think the Empire wouldn't have gotten to Zepho yet by this point, so that doesn't make sense. But yeah, this is the only thing that I recognize that I could say like, oh yeah, that's from the Clone Wars. Dooku used that to train Savage Opress. That's dope.
What a good connection, though.
Yeah, so I was excited to see that. We already talked about our homegirl Fee and Sid. So that's everything I got. I wasn't expecting to talk about our book collection, but that was fun.
I mean, we also said that this is gonna be like a half an hour, and look where we're at now. So
Oh,
things.
Geez, sorry, Danny girl.
Things can. I'm not complaining. I'm just saying things kind of get out of control. I think we both got the gigglies.
I think you're right. I think you're right.
Okay, nothing hurt with a good case of the gigglies.
I think with that said, that's a good stopping point. I think you and I need to go and chill for a little, decompress after our day. But this was fun. I'm really happy that the Bad Batch is back. I'm really happy that we get a show that's going to be a little bit more lighthearted than Andor. It's going to be half an hour, and there's going to be 16 episodes, so we've got 15 more. No, 14 more, excuse me, to go, which will be fun.
Absolutely. This is great.
So we're going to be doing breakdowns of the Bad Batch each week. Danny girl, I'm hoping will be joining us each week. If not, I'll definitely be doing the Bad Batch breakdowns, and I'll be doing Q&As each week. I think they're going to be done on Mondays. If it gets too crazy with work, I might alternate between like Monday, Tuesday, or Monday, Friday. But throughout the week, definitely be doing live stream Q&As and then live stream breakdowns of the Bad Batch. So make sure to check those out. Now is a good time, you jabronis. If you have not liked this video, please do. Let us know down in the comments whether you think Danny girl and I are ridiculous. You enjoyed our banter. If you think we're two schmohawks, you can let us know that in the comments as well.
This may be an unpopular opinion. If you think I'm a schmohawk, I don't care. I'm sorry. I'm such... Whatever. I'm just here to have a good time.
Have a good time, indeed. So, yeah, like the video. Let us know down in the comments your thoughts. And if you haven't, you jabroni, make sure to subscribe to Star Wars Transmissions. Why the hell have you not subscribed to Star Wars Transmissions? At this point, we're dropping shorts on the reg, and like I said, we've got live stream Q&A and our breakdowns that'll be released each week. So make sure to check those out. So with that said, my friends, may the Force be with you, and stay nerdy.